All right, what about James Packer's involvement in all of this? He is clearly going for the government. He's shown now that he's prepared to use his network to protect his casino interests. A couple of examples of that. The rant that went to air during an NRL final was one, and then a letter from Jeff Brown, the CEO of the organisation of the St George Illawarra RSL Club, offering to go into bat for them. So clearly you've got evidence of this, and then those comments that he made at the meeting during the week. Is this surprising that they should go to this level to protect those interests?
Well, politics is now, the days when people used to give donations to political parties to get an outcome are long past us, and we saw with the mining tax last year, everybody just lobbies direct and they're really out there. But I think with this issue, I mean, James Packer isn't Kerry Packer. Kerry Packer was a media man. James Packer is a casino man. He says that himself. The media interests are secondary. So I think that changes where he sits on the stage on this. He's not just a big, scary media proprietor. He's a rent seeker like everybody else, and he's out there. And I think the exposure of what they've been doing, I don't think really sort of helps his cause. But without a doubt, you know, it's sort of really sort of out there. The rugby league stuff was extraordinary.
Is that a bit sus, Jared, do you think, to use your media in that way?
Well,
and to be dishonest about it.
I mean, to what extent does he dominate Channel 9 these days? I'm not sure. But I mean, I don't see much of the point of Mr Packer's intervention, because the debate was going very much against the government's position before he intervened. It might have been counterproductive. It might have been better not to say anything. This has essentially come from the rank and file of the clubs, and an idea of a very wealthy man like James Packer getting involved in this debate. If I was giving him advice, I would have said, don't bother.
Yeah, suddenly it's Crown and not a Leagues club.
Well, there are a couple of points to bear in mind here, and this is something that started with the union campaign against work choices. The union started before the government had legislated, so they had an idea of what the government was going to do, and the first of the ads were running before we even saw the legislation. The miners went after a Prime Minister before they sat down and negotiated.
When Kevin Rudd was the Prime Minister.
When Kevin Rudd was the Prime Minister and we were at majority government. Now, James Packer, who is a casino operator who happens also to have an interest in a media company, decides to take on a government before the government has even legislated. Now, there's a couple of, we were talking about first principles earlier, there's a couple that I've got in mind here. If you were to make a call between a government and a market, you'd err on the side of the market to set the price, because the market would probably set a better price than the government. But if your contest was between a vested interest and the Parliament should always be sovereign on this. A Parliament should be allowed to put its legislation on the table, and then everybody else can have the debate around it. James Packer is Americanising Australian politics in a way that I think, in fact, the point you made earlier, this might actually be counterproductive. On something as big as this, you want him to lose this debate because you do not want the precedent to be set that a business interest can say before a government had even put pen to paper, by the way, you can't do it.